Welcome to our deep dive. Today we're tackling a topic that's, I think, really relevant for a lot of our listeners, navigating divorce as an autistic parent.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something that we don't talk about nearly enough.
No, we don't. We found some really interesting research and expert advice that we're going to be unpacking today.
Yeah.
And it really focuses on these three key areas:
Yeah.
communication, co-parenting,
Yeah.
and self-care.
Yeah. The cornerstones.
Yeah, and those are the cornerstones of, I think, not just surviving a divorce, but really thriving.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to acknowledge right off the bat that divorce is tough for anyone.
Yeah.
But for autistic individuals, all those unspoken social rules and just the emotional undercurrents can make things so much more tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. You're already dealing with,
Right.
trying to read between the lines and decipher those social cues.
Exactly.
And then you add divorce on top of that. It's like,
Yeah, it's an extra layer of complexity for sure.
yeah. Yeah. So the sources we looked at, they really emphasize the need for strategies that are specifically tailored to those unique challenges.
Yeah, and one of the things that stood out to me was just how much emphasis there was on clear and direct communication,
Yeah.
above all else.
Yeah. And it's funny because one of the things they really push for is written communication,
Yeah.
like emails and texts
Oh, interesting.
over face-to-face conversations. And at first I was like, that seems counterintuitive, but
Yeah, I can see why they would suggest that, though.
it's like you have that time to process and really think through your response.
Exactly. And I think for autistic individuals who often process information differently, having that time to decode and respond in writing can be so helpful.
It's like having a buffer, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to react in the moment.
Yeah, no pressure to come up with the perfect response right away.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the sources even got more specific, like suggest, using bullet points to break down information or avoiding sarcasm.
Oh, yeah. Sarcasm can be tough to read in text.
Oh, totally. It's
Yeah.
like it can so easily be misinterpreted.
Exactly.
So it's all about minimizing those potential misunderstandings.
Right. Minimizing miscommunication.
Yeah, and you know what else I thought was interesting? One of the sources actually recommended using visual aids,
Like what kind of visual
good
aids?
charts or schedules,
Hey.
especially when it comes to co-parenting logistics.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Right. It's like it just bypasses all that potential for communication breakdowns, and it just provides that level of clarity and structure that can be so beneficial.
Yeah, especially when emotions are running high.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
It's like imagine using a visual schedule to map out your child's week with each parent.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Right. No more confusion, no more last-minute
It
scrambling.
just creates that predictability.
Exactly. So I imagine is like gold during a divorce.
Oh, for sure, for both the parent and the child.
So we've talked about communication, but now let's dive into another biggie, co-parenting.
Oh, yeah, co-parenting.
It's not easy under the best of circumstances.
No, it's not.
But then you add the complexities of being an autistic parent.
And that's where a solid co-parenting plan can really make a difference.
Yeah, the sources we looked at, they were really adamant about having that plan in place.
Like a roadmap.
Yeah, exactly. A roadmap for shared goals and expectations.
To help minimize conflict and misunderstandings down the line.
Right, so instead of constantly having to renegotiate things or figure out who's doing what, you've got this clear agreement in place.
Yeah, it takes the guesswork out of the equation.
And that must be so reassuring, especially for an autistic parent who thrives on that structure and predictability.
Oh, absolutely. It provides that sense of stability and control in a situation that can feel very chaotic.
And this is where those communication skills we talked about earlier really come into play, right?
Yes, using those clear, direct communication strategies during the creation of the plan is so important.
Yeah, it sets you up for smoother co-parenting in the long run.
It's like building a strong foundation.
Okay, so we've covered communication co-parenting. But there's another piece of this puzzle that I think is so important.
What's that?
Self-care.
Oh, yes. Self-care is not selfish.
No, especially during a divorce.
Especially during a divorce, one of the sources had this really powerful analogy.
Oh, yeah.
They said, imagine yourself as a pitcher of water.
Okay.
If you're constantly pouring yourself out for others without replenishing your own supply, you'll eventually run dry.
Wow, that's such a vivid image.
And it's so true. And I think it's especially true for autistic parents who often experience heightened sensitivity and can become easily overwhelmed.
Yeah, like you need to make sure you have those reserves.
Right.
Those emotional and mental reserves.
Exactly, to be there for your child during this transition.
And this is where the importance of routine comes in, I think. For many autistic individuals, routine is like this key element in regulating emotions and managing anxiety.
Oh, absolutely. Routines provide that sense of predictability and stability.
Yeah. So as you're going through this divorce,
Yeah.
it's even more important to prioritize those activities that ground you, that bring you that sense of calm and stability.
The things that fill your cup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what I love about the research is that it doesn't just say, practice self-care.
Right.
It actually offers specific strategies,
Oh, like what?
like setting aside time for special interests,
Oh, that's a good one.
right, or engaging in physical activity to release stress,
Exercise is so good for stress relief.
or even practicing mindfulness techniques to stay grounded.
Yeah, finding those things that help you to stay present and centered.
And what I love about these suggestions
Yeah.
is that they highlight how self-care is not one size fits all.
Oh, for sure.
It's about finding what truly recharges you.
What works for you?
Yeah, what fills your cup, so you can show up as the best parent you can be.
Absolutely. Because when you're taking care of yourself, you're better equipped to handle those difficult emotions that inevitably come up during divorce.
Right? It's like self-care becomes this buffer, this protective layer that helps you navigate those challenges.
And it's not just about you, it's about setting a positive example for your child.
Oh, yeah.
When they see you prioritizing your own well-being, it teaches them the importance of self-care.
It's like you're modeling those healthy coping mechanisms.
Exactly. And that's a valuable lesson for them to carry throughout their lives.
I know, true.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone benefits from self-care.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork. We've talked about communication, co-parenting, and self-care. And I think in our next segment, we should really dive into some of the specifics around how to implement these strategies.
Yeah, let's get practical.
Yeah, let's talk about, creating that co-parenting plan, setting boundaries, and really building those support systems.
I'm excited to dig into that.
Me too.
Should we take a quick break and come back to that?
Sounds good.
It's funny how all these strategies we've been talking about, communication, co-parenting, self-care, they all tie back to this concept of creating a stable and predictable environment.
Yeah.
Which is especially crucial for autistic individuals.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, when you're going through a divorce, that sense of stability can just completely shatter.
Yeah, it's a huge upheaval.
So it's like you have to rebuild that foundation brick by brick.
Yeah, it's like starting from scratch in a way.
And that's where I think the research really offers some practical guidance.
Oh, definitely. Like what kind of stuff?
For example, one of the sources talks about the importance of maintaining consistency in your child's routine as much as possible.
Even amidst all the changes.
Yeah, even amidst all the changes that come with divorce.
Okay, I can see how that would be important.
Right. It's like those little things can make such a big difference.
Like what kind of little things?
Well, think about things like keeping bedtime routines consistent,
Oh, yeah.
or sticking to established mealtime rituals,
Oh, that makes sense.
or even just making sure that familiar toys and comfort items are readily available in both homes.
Oh, yeah, so there's that sense of familiarity no matter where they are.
Exactly. It's like creating those little islands of familiarity in this sea of change.
I love that analogy.
And I can imagine that having those consistent routines would not only help the child feel more secure,
Yeah.
but also the autistic parent who might be struggling with those changes too.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like it benefits everyone.
And that brings us back to communication, right? Like that open and clear communication between co-parents is essential for making that happen.
Oh, absolutely. You have to be on the same page.
Yeah, it's about setting aside any personal conflicts and really focusing on what's best for the child.
Putting the child's needs first.
And, one of the sources used this great phrase, co-parenting with intention.
Oh, I like that.
It's about being mindful of your communication
Yeah, choosing your words carefully.
and remembering that your goal is to work together to support your child.
It's not about winning or losing.
No, it's about creating that positive and healthy co-parenting relationship.
Teamwork.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it ties back to what we were talking about earlier with self-care. When you're taking care of yourself, you're better able to regulate your emotions.
Yeah, you have more bandwidth.
Which makes you a more effective communicator.
And that benefits everyone involved.
Absolutely. And speaking of self-care, one of the things that the research really emphasizes is the importance of giving yourself permission to grieve.
Oh, yeah. Grief is a big part of divorce.
The divorce is a loss,
It is.
and it's natural to feel a range of emotions.
Sadness, anger, guilt.
It's not about pretending everything's okay or rushing through the grieving process.
No, you have to allow yourself to feel those emotions.
And to process them in a healthy way.
Exactly. And that's where those self-care practices that we talked about can really come in handy.
Yeah, things like journaling or talking to a therapist.
Connecting with supportive friends and family.
And remember, grief doesn't look the same for everyone.
Oh, no, definitely not.
There's no right or wrong way to grieve.
The important thing is to find healthy outlets for those emotions.
To process them in a way that feels authentic and supportive for you.
And I think that's especially important for autistic individuals who might experience and process emotions differently than neurotypical people.
That's such a good point.
Uh,
And it highlights the importance of, you know, seeking out support groups or online communities specifically for autistic parents going through divorce.
oh, yeah, finding those spaces where you can connect with others who understand those unique challenges.
It can be so validating and empowering.
It's like creating a space where you can be yourself, where you don't have to mask or pretend.
That sense of community could be so powerful.
Especially during a time when you might be feeling isolated or overwhelmed.
It's a reminder that you're not alone in this journey.
And, one of the things that really struck me from the research was this emphasis on the importance of seeking professional support.
Yeah, therapy can be so helpful.
Not just for yourself, but also for your child.
Oh yeah, kids need support too.
Absolutely. Divorce can be incredibly emotionally challenging for children.
Yeah, they're going through their own grieving process.
And having a therapist who specializes in child development and divorce can provide them with a safe and supportive space to process their feelings.
To help them adjust to all these changes.
And I think it's important to highlight that seeking professional help is not a sign of weakness.
No, it's a sign of strength.
It's about recognizing that you don't have to go through this alone.
That there are experts who can provide guidance and support.
And there are therapists who specialize in working with autistic children.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, they understand the unique ways that autistic kids might experience and process emotions.
So finding a therapist who's a good fit for your child's needs can make a world of difference.
It can be life-changing.
And that's where doing your research, asking for referrals, really advocating for your child's needs comes in.
Being their champion.
Yeah, ensuring they have the support they need to navigate these changes with as much ease and resilience as possible.
And remember, it's okay to ask for help for yourself, too.
Oh yeah,
Parenting, especially during a divorce, is incredibly demanding.
it's a lot.
And there's no shame in seeking support from a therapist or a support group.
Or even just a trusted friend or family member.
Anyone who can lend an ear or offer a shoulder to cry on,
Taking care of your own emotional well-being is not selfish.
it's essential.
It's essential for being the best parent you can be.
And, one of the things that the research highlights is that this divorce, as challenging as it is, can also be an opportunity for growth.
Oh, I like that perspective.
It's a chance to reevaluate your priorities.
Yeah, to set healthy boundaries.
And to create a life that truly aligns with your values.
To find your own happiness.
Exactly. And I think our listeners can hold on to that sense of hope, that even amidst the challenges, there's potential for growth and renewal.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thought.
Yeah.
And it's about recognizing that you have the strength and resilience to navigate this.
You do.
To create a brighter future for yourself and your child.
You are capable of amazing things.
You are.
Yeah.
As we kind of wrap up this deep dive, one thing that really stands out to me is that sense of hope. Like we've talked about the challenges of divorce as an autistic parent,
Yeah.
but the research we've explored, it doesn't dwell on the difficulty.
Right.
It's like it shines a light on the solutions, the strategies, and ultimately that potential for growth.
It really does. It's a reframing divorce.
Yeah.
Not as this failure,
Right.
but as a transformation.
Yeah.
A chance to kind of rebuild and create a new sense of normal that works for you and your child.
Exactly. And I think the key to navigating that transformation, like we've been saying, is those three pillars.
Yeah. Communication, co-parenting, and self-care.
And what I love about those is that they're not just divorce strategies.
Right.
It's like they're life skills.
They are.
Things that can help you advocate for your child at school or navigate workplace dynamics or set healthy boundaries in personal relationships.
Absolutely. It's like we've given our listeners a blueprint for handling any kind of upheaval.
Yeah. And let's be honest, life throws curveballs at all of us.
Oh, yeah.
So having those tools in your belt can make a world of difference.
For sure. And those moments, as challenging as they can be, they're also opportunities to learn and grow.
Yeah, to become more resilient.
Exactly.
And it makes me think back to something you said earlier about the power of seeking support,
Oh, yeah.
whether it's professional help or support groups or, trusted friends and family or those amazing online communities.
It's so important to have that network of people who get it.
It's that sense of community.
Yeah, that reminder that you're not alone.
Exactly. And it's not just about getting support.
Right.
It's also about sharing your own experiences and offering support to others.
Yeah, that reciprocal support can be so powerful.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we wrap up, I keep thinking back to that idea of creating a stable and predictable environment for your child,
Hmm. Especially during a time of so much change.
right? All those little things we talked about, the visual schedules, the consistent bedtime routines, the familiar comfort items.
Yeah, it's all about minimizing anxiety and creating those islands of predictability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that same principle applies to you as a parent, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like creating those routines, those rituals, those self-core practices,
Yeah, taking care of yourself.
so you can show up as your best self for your child.
Exactly.
So to our listener, as we end this deep dive, remember, divorce is a process.
Not a destination.
It's about finding ways to communicate effectively, to co-parent with intention, and to prioritize your own well-being throughout the journey.
And remember, you have the strength and resilience within you to navigate this and create a brighter future for yourself and your child.
You're not alone. There are resources out there to support you every step of the way. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep being the amazing parent you are.